Welcome to another episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say. My name is Zach, and today our guest is Mac. I'll
How
have
are
him
you?
introduce himself in just a moment. Just know that today we'll be getting a bit into, some of the process around getting your medical, some of the research that's done before you get into flight training, and really the mindset it takes to kind of get where you want to go. But before we get into it too far, Mac, would you like to give yourself a brief introduction?
Yeah, sure, Zach.
Yeah.
I'm Mac. I'm 26 from New Jersey, and I've been going to thrust since July, which is pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah,
So
and I'm glad to have you here. You haven't been here very long,
no,
but you were recommended and to be on the pod, and I'm excited to kind of get to know you a little bit. We just got talking a moment ago, and I think there's some interesting things that our audience would maybe like to hear. It's a unique perspective. But still, before we get rolling too much, I want to zoom out a little bit,
sure.
give them a chance to get to know you a little
Yeah.
more. Uh, what's one thing that you would want people to know about you? Maybe something that makes you feel understood if this person knows it about you. Maybe it's a characteristic, anything.
About me,
Hmm.
I like planes a lot, and I know that's pretty stereotypical. It's a thrust podcast. Wow, but
Right.
it's all I talk about, man. It's
Yeah.
kind of bad,
Yeah. Is that
sort of
what
a
kind of got
problem.
you into aviation?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, well, then tell me, when's the first time you remember being really excited about planes?
Man, that is a very loaded question,
Yeah.
and here's my answer for that. I think I was like 6 or 7 years old,
Yeah.
and I used to watch all these old like documentaries on the History Channel,
Yeah.
and they'd have all these planes in there, and I remember going, "Wow,
Yeah.
this is awesome!" So that's all I would do every day. I'd come home from school, bam, History Channel, bam, History Channel. That's all I would do,
That's awesome.
and
History Channel was goaded.
no, it was goaded. Back
Yeah,
in the day, it was so
it
great.
really was.
But you get all the documentaries, and then like I'd start going to some of the museums and everything. Because I initially like it was like the military aviation side of it was initially what I got into. Just like the history of it and all that. Like I got my history minor in college just for giggles and fun. Yeah, but I go to all the museums. Like I used to give my family tours of museums that I'd never been to. But I'm like, cool, that's this plane. I didn't know that that was here, right?
Hmm.
But it's just like, how everybody's got their thing.
Right.
That's my thing,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, that might and that's what I like about pilots so much. I mean, my friends know that if they're riding in the car with me, I'm gonna nerd out over one of my favorite artists. I'm like, "Did you hear what they said? Did you
Yeah,
hear that? Hold on, I'll
exactly.
rewind it."
Yeah.
And I think that's what I like about pilots, that they're that for planes and aviation and
Yeah.
flying and everything involved. So that's awesome. Well, that got you this far.
Yeah.
When's the first time you took action on your interest in aviation? I mean, did you start researching at a certain time? Did you decide where you're going to go to school based on this?
It's kind of been like a half on kind of half off kind of thing.
Hmm.
Initially, I think I was 15. And as I said, I grew up in New Jersey, like just outside New York City. So airspace is a lot different there. And it's even more so now that I actually kind of know what I'm talking about. And I look at that airspace, I'm like, whoa.
Wow.
So this makes sense,
Yeah.
like in context. But
Uh-huh.
I was like 15 or whatever.
Hmm.
And initially I actually really didn't have that good of an experience with it. I
Mm.
had gone there. It was early in the morning, and this instructor that I had gotten up there, she was just really mean for whatever reason. They gave me these crappy headphones that you couldn't understand, and she go wah 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 wah, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying to me. I don't know what you want from me.
Hmm.
But I had done this big. It was super cool. I did a discovery flight on like the New York City skyline. We went like up, we went down the Hudson. Went around the Statue of Liberty. They call it the Lady, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But it's like you can see the entirety of New York there, so it's super cool.
Hmm.
But I went back and then just whatever and flew back. She let me fly the plane for a little bit, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. But honestly, the lady was just kind of mean, so it really put me in like kind of like a bad mood or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you got a really cool scenery going around
Oh,
in
so the scenery
NYC,
was so
but
cool.
it's almost like a, I don't know, customer experience wasn't that
Yeah.
great. Uh,
Yeah.
but so was that like one of your first times
That was
really
yeah
taking?
that was really the first proper time
Mhm.
that I had sat up front, and I was like, okay, well, is this really cool? Yeah. Is this something that I'm interested in? Yeah. But is
Mhm.
this something that I want to make a career out of? At the time, I said no.
Mm.
Right. So I went through college. Whatever. I didn't really think a lot about it. I went through college. I got my degree in business management.
Right.
So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go do. What I had said was, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go do my degree in something that's like I can apply towards aviation that's
Mm,
not like flying the plane.
right.
So I was like, whether I go work for United or whatever, I was gonna eyeball that part.
Yeah.
I was gonna have it in an aviation oriented field without having to deal with that. Because for whatever reason, I was like, oh, all the pilots are all mean based off of that one girl, which it doesn't make any sense
Yeah.
in hindsight.
Well, I mean, it's such a new experience. You only have a few things to tack it,
Yeah,
tack it onto.
exactly.
But also when it's kind of crazy how it works because we're expected to make decisions about our future when we're like
Yeah,
15,
yeah,
16,
exactly,
17,
exactly.
and that what are you to do? But
Yeah,
you get your degree. Um, you get your degree first, and
yeah.
then what's your plan after that?
Yeah, so I got my degree, and I was still like, okay, I'm gonna go apply it, whatever. And I'd applied. I think I graduated in December of 2021.
Hmm.
Um, and I was like, okay, I was applying around, and I got like two job offers. I got one for Northrop Grumman, and I got one for Lockheed. And I was
Hmm.
like, I was still up in New Jersey at the time, and I was like,
Hmm.
okay, cool, I'm gonna go work for Lockheed Martin, and they moved me all the way down to Lexington, Kentucky,
That's great.
which is super funny because like did I ever think that I was gonna go live in Lexington? I would have said no.
Yeah.
But like, I went down there and it was fantastic, and I've got really good friends from there.
Uh-huh.
Um,
And you grew up in New York and Jersey?
yeah, I grew up just outside the city.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, gotcha. So yeah, that's a much different
yeah,
experience, I would
I'm
imagine.
20 minutes away from New York.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I'm sure that Kentucky is a very different
yeah,
experience,
no,
but
so different, but it was good. But I went to school in Virginia Tech, so like it's
okay.
not.
Okay.
Yeah, it was about the same vibe, to
Yeah,
be
right.
honest with you. It was about the same vibe. But yeah, so I went down there. Um, um, it was really cool. It was really cool.
Mhm.
Um, but there wasn't the advancement that I wanted, and there wasn't the challenge that I wanted for myself.
Mm.
Was it a good job? Yeah. Would I have been fine there? Yeah. But but I was sitting there, and I think a lot of pilots can relate to this, where uh they're just like, oh well, the office job is just not for me. And that was
Yeah.
just the conclusion that I went to, because I had been there probably a year.
Yeah.
I think it was like a year. And I remember when I had gotten home from work that day, and I was like, dude, this is my dream job, right? Because like my favorite plane, the
Mhm.
P-38 Lightning, shout out P-38,
Yeah.
you know, made by Lockheed Martin. So I was like, dude, this is my dream
That's pretty
job.
cool, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this is my dream job. This is everything that I want. I was sitting there, I was like, yeah, I'm not really happy about this though.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like I was getting there before sunrise, working there all day in a building with no windows. Leave, the sun's down. You're like, I didn't want to see the sun anyway today. That's not, I didn't need that. I had to take vitamin D pills, that
Yeah.
vitamin D deficiency.
Wow.
Take your vitamin D gummies or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I was sitting there and I was just like, is this something that I really want to do long term? I couldn't really do, it was just the same monotony day after day after day after day of doing the same exact thing. And personally for me, like, it's
Mhm.
not even the travel. It's just I like variety, and
Uh-huh.
and I had met a bunch of people in, well, not even just in New Jersey, and really and everywhere, and they go, oh, I haven't really traveled a lot, and it's not travel, but it's like, oh, I've never left this town,
Yeah.
and or people saying I've never left New Jersey. New Jersey's not big,
Yeah.
so I'm like, you've never even been like to New York, and they're like, "Hey, I went to New York City once," and
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Kind of
dude,
wild,
I'm like,
yeah.
dude, that cannot be me. I need to make sure that I'm living my life to the fullest.
Mhm.
Right. So I kind of had this realization, I guess
Right.
you would say. So I was like, okay, what do I need to do about this? And I called my cousin, and back at the time she was still working for United. She flew 787s and
Oh,
triple
wow.
seven. She had a great career. I went to her retirement party. It was super fun. But anyway, so I called her and I was just like, hey, I really need some advice here, because I've always liked planes. Um, but I had this really bad experience the last time that I flew. And she was like, okay, but why was it bad? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that, I think that was definitely a wake up
She
call
made
for
you
me.
think a little more about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, she's been a really big mentor and role model for me.
That's really cool.
So
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, cool. This is pretty great. So I'd applied. I was like, I'm gonna go do this, and I applied to go get my medical.
Right.
And that was fun. Let me tell you, that
Yeah.
was fun.
I'm sure that was its own journey. So we were talking before this, and you
Yeah,
told me that that was a bit of a hiccup for you, and you don't have to really necessarily go in detail, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who struggle with who maybe don't get their medical right off the
Yeah.
bat, and they're like, oh, they just kind of
Yeah.
like throw their hands up. So what happened? I mean, what you talk to your cousin? She says, "What are you talking about?" You're like, "Oh, you're right. I'm gonna
Yeah.
get my medical." And then what happens then?
Well, then I was like, okay, I'm waiting, and a few months went by, and then a few more months went by. Just waiting, because the FAA is like, okay, we'll let you know. Then they'd sent me a letter saying, hey, we're deferring you. We need some more documents. We need some more documents from
Did it take them
you.
months before they deferred you?
Oh God, it took them, I think, 3 months before I even got the letter saying, hey, we're deferring you. We need more information. I was like, cool,
Okay.
here you go. They were like, okay, we need to go meet with a HIMSS AME, and I was like, cool. Went and met with the HIMSS AME. It was the easiest thing in the world, but
Yeah.
not fun.
Yeah.
But then it was really bad because I got my student pilot certificate, a little card,
Yeah.
which is not your medical. And I called her and I was like, I got my medical, and she's like, well, that doesn't sound like it's your medical. And I was like, oh my God.
You're a little confused of what you
Yeah.
had. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
so I got that, and I was like, oh my God. So I was like, okay, I need to do something
Mhm.
in the meantime so that I can better set myself up for the time that this is done.
Right.
So I'd taken a discovery flight just at the local flight school there, and they were like, okay, well, we'll kind of wait. Normally, we don't really like until you get your medical, but like, we'll wait. Whatever you can do, just pay out of pocket, whatever, and you can just do a flight a week,
Uh-huh.
2 flights a week.
Right.
So I was like, okay, cool.
With an instructor, of
Yeah,
course.
and
Yeah.
but like, and I was doing that, granted, but I was doing 1 flight a week, 2 flights a week, studying the ground, and then forgetting the ground 2 weeks later, because it's just like you need like flight school is just, it builds off of the last thing,
Right.
and if you're just going off of well, we'll kind of look at it, doesn't really work,
Yeah.
because you might be here, but the stuff that you're trying to remember here isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got to even out somewhere in the middle.
Gotta build some momentum, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you really need to go, okay, well, this is this because of this. And you go, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
Right. But I was doing a flight a week, 2 flights a week, and it just wasn't working. It just
Yeah.
wasn't working. I wasn't getting anywhere because legally you can't solo until you
Right.
have your medical. And I'd gotten more or less right next to where I was like sort of ready to solo. But
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of just like, okay, well, this is just a lot of money to kind of hang out right next to my solo.
Yeah.
This isn't worth it. There must be something else that I can do, right? So I started looking online. I was like, okay, how can I make myself look better? How can I make the FAA stay on top of me so that I can get them to do what I need them to do? Because I knew they were never going to deny me.
Right.
It was more just them needing more information,
It's a
right?
bureaucratic process.
And it's important that you give them the ammunition for what they need, because it's a two-way road,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where you go, oh no, I'm fine. They're gonna go, are you sure?
Yeah.
Right. But if you just go, okay, well, here, I'm, not necessarily like, hey, I'm an open slate, but like, hey, I believe I am qualified based off of this, 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 and this. And they go, okay, cool. Right. But the hardest part for me was just getting a response.
Mm-hmm.
So my strategy, I was like, I was kind of not fizzling out from my quote unquote flight school. I wouldn't even really call it flight school. But I was like, okay, I need to pivot instead of waiting for my medical
Mm-hmm.
to making them do and look at my medical. Right. So
Mhm.
I started calling them the Oklahoma City, whatever it is, the hotline. And I called them every day for like a year.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, because the way that it works is that, is there preferential treatment? No. But when you call them every day, right, they'll put on your pilot application,
Uh-huh.
and they'll flag you as what's called an interested airman. This is a
Mhm.
life hack. Look this up. They'll flag you as what's called an interested airman.
Okay.
So it's not a fast track, but it's a, hey, this guy's calling us a lot, and we don't, you're clogging up all our resources for people who actually need to talk to us, like actual pilots and all that, like
Yeah,
like
exactly.
American and United and whatever, right? We don't need this guy who doesn't even have his PPL calling us, right?
All right.
So I called them. I got on a first name basis with some people in the call center, which is kind of weird, but yeah, and eventually they were just like do, and then eventually I looked down the Med Express Next day, I had gone to interview, and then like the day after, it was like, cool, here's your medical.
Yeah, and it was just a matter of them being on top of it, processing what needs to be processed, getting what they need from you, you getting what right,
Yeah.
and you calling them every day. So what was that? I mean, what was the change in mindset there? You got tired. You can't just float around and waste some money on some flying.
Yeah.
Now you want to be proactive? Is
Yeah.
that
I mean, I
yeah?
was like, look, I was trying to be proactive with like the flight school side of it,
Hmm.
but then I was like, okay, well, now I'm kind of stalling on my progress. Right? What's the other side of it? Go get them to do my medical.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. So I found that keeping them accountable, I'd call my AME and said, hey, where am I at? I feel like I had a pretty good relationship with my HIMS AME too. I
hmm
was like, hey, can you call them and just see like, hey, where's this at?
yeah.
And he did that quite a bunch for me too. So it was good. I had this
That's
little
awesome.
this little network trying to push me along anyway, because I mean, this is something that everyone has to do. Maybe not that hard, but this is something that everyone has to do. Everyone has to go apply for the medical, right?
Exactly.
And it's important that you build up a good basis for yourself, right? Especially with the FAA, the medical, because that's always something that for the rest of my life until I'm retired at 65, hopefully.
Yeah,
That's something that I'm gonna have to deal with. So if I build a good rapport, if I build a good portfolio, even I'll say like, hey, I'm a healthy dude, everything's good. Whatever. I mean, I think a lot of pilots have high blood pressure or whatever. Like, oh, I've got high blood pressure, but now I don't, or
yeah,
whatever it is. Right? If you're building that rapport and you're keeping the FAA happy, right, they're gonna scratch your back as well, right?
yeah,
So it's a two-way road to be sure.
yeah.
So I got my medical accepted in I think February of last year of 2024.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So
makes
it
sense.
took them a while. I don't know what time that makes it, but it was a while.
Yeah.
I kind of lost track of time.
I
Just
mean,
give
yeah. I mean, you kept moving. I mean, you said even you kept calling them for almost a year. So I mean,
Yeah.
at least that long, which is a big wait. And some people, they never get back around to getting it worked out or figured. I mean, I think one of our last guests, he said that. Oh, it was actually our program manager over in the Denison
Oh
location.
yeah.
Yeah, he started working at Thrust, helping run the school before he
Yeah.
ever even really got to fly because he
Yeah,
had some
that's
similar
right.
issues.
That's
And he
right.
said he
Yeah.
went back around, took care of the medical, and it got taken care of just like that after waiting like almost a year or two.
Oh,
And
it's so quick. It's
yeah,
so quick.
and it's always people who know they want to fly that are going to say no. I mean, I'm going to figure it out. So that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. And you're on top of it. That's a behavior that's necessary, like you said,
Yeah.
not just here and there, but more so like consistently
Yeah,
being on top of it.
you definitely,
Yeah.
it's definitely, especially like pilotage and all that, it's definitely a mindset,
Hmm.
right? It's not oh, I'm going to like, this will figure itself out. Oh, or I'll figure this out later. It's like, no, okay, let's outline this. What do I need to do to make this work, right?
Exactly. That's the real question. Well, so we get to know you a little bit more, and you get through this whole medical experience,
Yeah, it's
uh,
definitely experience.
and were you weren't still working at Lockheed Martin at that time,
No,
or
I
were
was.
you?
I was just basically working there, hanging out, waiting until my medical got approved.
Okay, that's kind of what was
So it
going.
was good.
So your
But
medical gets
like,
approved. Do you quit your job right away? What do you
I
do?
did not. I did not, because obviously the next step comes finding a flight school. And
Okay.
so I'd set this all up beforehand. I was like, okay, well, the flight school in Lexington, I was like, okay, like they were like, okay, you're going to get, I mean, not this is great, but this is just kind of the way that it is. You're going to get a 10-15% loan, whatever it is. You'll be fine. I was like, it's the way that it is.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
And
What are you to do?
yeah, so I got my medical. I was like, you know, heck yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I called them up. They had just opened like this new hangar or whatever it is. I met the CEO of like the whole flight school, and he was like, oh yeah, we'll take care of you.
Uh-huh.
Right. So I was like, okay, cool. I went that night, I remember I applied for the loan. They wanted a 25% loan.
That's a lot on a pretty
25%.
sizable loan at that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because I mean, granted, you can do a Part 61, right? A Part 61 is great. It does give you what you need. It gives you what you need for cheaper, right? And but for me specifically, I'm like, look, I'm 26, right? Because
Mhm.
once you get to the airlines, it's all about seniority.
Mhm.
So I'm not late by any means, but I'm
Right.
not early.
Mhm.
So I really wanted to get to the airlines as fast as possible. So I was like, okay, I know a 141 is good for me, especially because I'll just be honest, I'm not the best with like self-policing, right? I kind of need that
That pressure.
structure. I need
Yeah.
that pressure.
Oh, and
Exactly.
structure.
Yeah, but I need that. Okay, you need to keep going forward. I'm like, will do.
Same.
Um, So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to 141. The school that I've been going to before was also 141, but they wanted to hit me with 25% loans. I was like, no, I'm not doing this.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, probably can't stay in Lexington.
Right.
Let's eyeball it. What are we gonna do? So the first school that I had looked at besides the one in Lexington, do you want to say it?
You can say it
It was ATP. And they were super nice, right?
Right.
They were super nice. I went over there to their location. And I applied for their Sally Mae, but hey, they was crazy. They wanted way more money for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, you're gonna do your PPL. What was it? They were like, you're gonna do your PPL, your instrument, and your commercial here in Louisville.
hmm
But for your CFI, I think they wanted me to go, like move and go to like to Charlotte just to do one rating,
Yeah.
which was weird. And then they were like, actually, they didn't even say this anywhere. They were like, oh, by the way, all the check ride fees, because after you get to the end of your rating, you need to get your check ride to, make sure you actually know what you're talking about. This is
Right.
actually what I'm about to go do right now for my PPL. But they were like, oh, the check ride fees not included in the loan.
Okay, so like 2 questions real quick before we
Yeah.
keep going. I want to know, how did you find out, like what brought up the fact that you're gonna have to pay for those fees, and then number 2 also, the amount that they were quoting you, was that like more than what it seems like normally everywhere else?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those 2
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, to answer your first question, it was just a lot of internet research,
Okay.
right? Because, and this is very much atypical.
Yeah.
My parents, I was kind of sitting there and I was like, oh, I got to sell the folks on this. So
Yeah.
I made a PowerPoint presentation.
I like
And I
this.
still have it. It's really funny.
Yeah.
But I made a PowerPoint presentation and presented it to my parents. I was like, this is what I want to go do, and this is how I go do it. And I had it all outlined, and everything was there, right? But to answer your second point, I mean, it was miles more expensive. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then to not even include the check ride fees, which was probably give or take like an extra like $10,000.
And did you ask them about that just to get an answer out of them?
Yeah, and they were like, well, we don't know. This is a completely normal thing in the flight school industry. I'm like,
Yeah.
are you sure about that?
Yes. I mean, we don't.
Yeah,
but
it's included.
We don't do that.
It's
We make sure.
included, but I mean,
It's like batteries not included. Very
yeah,
expensive
exactly.
batteries.
And I'm just like, what am I supposed to do with this? Now I got to go buy the batteries. Oh, there's this other thing that you forgot to go buy. I got to go buy that too. And I was just like, dude, this is too many gotchas. I don't like this. It's not for me.
Mhm.
So I didn't take time, I would say, after that, because it became increasingly apparent that I didn't want to do a 61.
Mhm.
And there weren't enough 141s in Kentucky that I was like, oh, this is something that I can stay with my friends and whatever and go do. 'Cause
Right.
moving's hard,
Yeah.
right? Because I moved down to Lexington. I didn't know. Actually, that's not true. I knew 2 people. I
Mhm.
knew 2 people when I went down there. But like, moving's tough. So I was like, oh, I don't want to do that again.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, okay, I've got to go look around. So I looked all over the country for flight schools. I probably looked at least 40 flight schools.
Wow.
And I would highly recommend doing that, because what I would end up doing is comparing what one flight school said to what another flight school said and see if their narratives lined up, which a lot of the times they didn't.
Yeah.
But you also want experience. And I think that's really important. There were a lot of people saying they theoretically knew what they were talking about, but then they didn't know what they were talking about. So, I mean, there's a lot of courses that they're like, oh, we'll give you what you need and you don't have to put in any of the effort. And that is not how it works.
Yeah.
This is way harder than anything that I'd ever done in college. And it was a business degree, I mean, maybe if you were an engineer, I'd probably say that's just as hard. But like,
Yeah.
But no, it's it's hard. You got to put in the work.
Were they kind of trying to sell you that this is like, they're trying to sell how achievable it was by saying it was kind of like easy?
Yeah,
That's
exactly. They go, oh, it's so great. We'll help you with the loan. You don't got to worry about it. But then you look at the fine print. It's like, oh yeah, if you drop out, we get to keep all your money.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, let's see about that one. So just stuff like that, where I wanted to make sure that people were telling the truth, and and I understand that people are trying to make a sale, they're trying to get a client on board, right? But
Or maybe
for
they just
me,
don't know that much.
yeah, or maybe they just don't know that much. But for me, right, I mean, you have to take this seriously, and I wanted to come in this with all the ammunition that I could have, so that I would make an informed decision, and I think that I would have gone to the best flight school. And I mean, granted, you're going to look at the reality of the matter is that if you look online for any flight school, there's always going to be bad stuff. But, as my old manager used to say, trust but verify,
Hmm.
right? Because for all you know, let's just be honest, who's the guy posting that? Some guy who got kicked out of the flight school,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So
On some level, you have to
yeah, so
think
I
about
went to
that.
all these flight
Yeah.
schools. I went to ones in Phoenix. I checked out the United Aviate program. I went to a bunch of other ones there actually. Some in Salt Lake. I had a bunch in New Jersey that I had looked at. Some in Virginia that I looked at. There was a really good one in North Carolina that was kind of close to thrust, but I was like, nah, this is not good. A bunch in Florida. I looked all over.
Right.
So I think it was my, it was my birthday. It's
Oh
my
yeah.
birthday in May, and I was coming down here to visit my sister because she lives in Dallas.
Okay.
Right. So I was like, hey, I'm
Okay.
gonna go whatever, explore flight schools down here while I'm at it. Two birds, one stone. It's gonna be great. Gonna be a good
Mhm.
time. And it was so funny because normally she doesn't loan her car out to anyone, but she's like, you know what, you need to do this, and this is important, and you're a good driver. You know what? I trust you. Go look around. And I was like, I can't be that bad. It
Yeah.
can't be that bad.
Yeah.
Because New Jersey drivers, everybody's like, oh, this is terrible. It was that bad.
Yeah. Dallas. Thank you.
Dude. Dallas drivers are. It was honestly just impressive.
It's like
I was
playing GTA in real life.
dude, it's harder than GTA.
Yeah.
So I like, dude, people just don't even turn, don't indicate. I got honked at for being in the right hand lane. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just driving here. But anyway,
Yeah.
so admittedly, credit where it's due, my mom was the person that had found Thrust Flight School initially. It was not me.
Wow. And
Which is
what year is this? 2024?
this was like 2022, I think it
Oh
was.
man. Okay. Okay. Not my marketing.
So
that
it
failed.
had been on my radar for a while, right?
Yeah.
But you call people, you look at the website, it's gonna say everything that they want you to hear,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Always.
And that's not necessarily what you want, especially with something as expensive as this, right? And actually, before I'm gonna sidebar for a second,
Yeah.
because it is expensive, but if
It
you're
is.
serious about it, the timeline's a little bit different for everybody. I mean, I think Thrust says 9 months.
It's designed
It's
to be
designed
able to finish in
for
9 months. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, some people are done in. I think some people finished in like 6. Some people are done in a year.
Yeah.
Right. It
Yeah.
depends how you are as a person. I mean, some people just kind of like my roommate, for example. He just got really nauseous, right?
Yeah.
And he's just took a little bit longer with his PPL, and that's just the way that it is, and it's nothing that you can do about it.
Right.
I mean, he honestly should have done a discovery flight. I think if you're even considering doing flight school, you should do the discovery flight, ask questions, see what's going on. But I knew I was pretty set in. I'd already done all the flight school and everything, as I said.
Right.
So I was like, okay, this is something that I want to go do, right? And is it a big loan? Yeah. But, if you really bust your butt, as a CFI, you can kind of, okay, I'll make your payments, whatever. Once you get to the airlines, you can pay that all off.
Yeah. If you can get look, if you believe that you want to do it and you believe you can get there, I think it comes down to those two things. I feel like when I talk to pilots, you can find a lot of reasons why you shouldn't go because it is expensive. You will have large loan payments. It is difficult and it is also hard to work at the same time. But I think a lot of people who end up saying, you know what, I don't care about all those, difficult things that may be a reason not to go.
Yeah.
They always come down to what you just said. It's the same thing every time. They say,
you're always
I
going to
want to
find a
do it
reason.
and I can get there. I'll just tough it out until I get
you just
there.
gotta give her the good old Mark 1 eyeball and see where it goes, right?
Exactly.
But
yeah, it's expensive, and like you said,
but it'll even out in the end, right? So you get to an airline. I mean, granted, the hiring right now is,
yeah.
But you know what? But once you get there, you're golden, and I think that's the really good thing about Thrust is they give you the networking opportunity.
And does it cross your mind that like, oh, what if I don't get there? Does that ever pop in your head?
No.
Why not?
It's because honestly, like, does it want to? It's gonna not. I don't know if this is English, but like, does it want to? Do I want to kind of think like that? Yeah, but you can't. You just can't.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you start going right, and you kind of start self-doubting yourself, it's a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's gonna sound really stupid, but you got to channel your inner maverick and just be like, no, I can do this. I'm good. I'm locked. I can do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you can only do your best.
Yeah.
So, if you go, okay, this is something I'm struggling with, figure it out. That's totally normal. It's part of flight school.
Just figure it out.
But anyway, getting back on track with my story before I forget about it. So my sister had loaned me her car, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna drive around Dallas. I'll see the area. I actually had some clients in the DFW area that I was like, cool. I'm gonna go hang out with them too. It'll be fun. And Thrust was the first place that I went.
Okay.
And I got there at like I think it was like 8 a.m. on the morning of my birthday.
Right.
So I get there and I talked to Cheyenne, and she was so cool.
Yeah.
She was so cool, right? So she showed me the flight line, she showed me the hangar that we've got. She was like, okay, this is what's going on. And I felt so bad for her because I felt like I was interrogating this poor woman. She's so cool
Yeah.
though. And like halfway through the tour, I pulled her aside. I was just like, hey, I appreciate that you're telling me the entire story and you're not just BSing me and saying, oh, well,
Okay.
welcome to thrust flight school. It's just like, no, this will be hard. You put in the work. We will do what we need to do on our end so that you can succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and I appreciate that. And you were the first person that has told me that
Wow.
outside of, as I said, I think it was like 40 or something flight schools that I had gone to. She's the first person that had actually told me, the full story. Because I mean, let's just be honest. Every place you go to, if it's a job, if it's university, whatever, there's going to be pros and cons.
Yeah, there's no perfect. There's no 10 out of 10. There's no 100% accuracy like anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but just to say it doesn't exist is shady.
yeah, exactly.
So I was like, hey, I appreciate that you're not doing this. And she was like, oh no, I'd never do it. She's so cool. Oh my God. But anyway, so we finished the tour. The tour was super cool. Halfway through the tour, my grandma calls me and she's like, happy birthday. And I'm like, Grammy, I'm on a tour right now. I'll call you back. Love you.
But maybe she was trying to say congratulations, happy birthday.
Yeah,
you walked into the right school.
Exactly. But
yeah, but
so like afterwards, China's like, "Oh my God, it's your birthday!" So Miss Irma came out, whatever. She gave me a hat. She's like, "Happy birthday!" It was so cool.
That's so cool.
So I called my sister afterwards. I had all these other schools on my list for the rest of the day, and I was like, "Now we're done. That's it."
Yeah.
I mean, you just gotta do your own homework and come to an informed decision. And I personally looked at the cons, and I was like, "Yeah, are there risks? Yeah, there's gonna be risks like any flight school."
Yeah.
But I think the pros outweigh the cons. I think especially the aircraft fleet, especially, oh my God, the planes. It's like going from I was in a clapped out 172 beforehand. It's like going from a Honda Civic to a Ferrari.
Nice.
Dude, they're awesome. They're so great. And they have AC.
I'm gonna send this to Piper. You just compared their plane to a Ferrari, so I think that's a dub.
I love the Archer. I think it's a lot easier to fly than the Cessna than the 172. But the AC is life changing.
Yeah,
it's so nice.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I called her and I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I don't know if I would do this, but I'd already applied like for the loan with ATP or whatever, just to get like the Sally Mae loan, and then they're like, oh, you can transfer flight schools or whatever. That was a whole pain in the butt. I probably wouldn't do that.
Because you had to,
yeah. But I already had most set up, so I just had to finagle Sally Mae to get them to do what I need to do. I ended up getting a really good loan. And I was like, okay, that's done, whatever. Okay, here's my last day, whatever. And I moved down here and I packed up. I got down here on the 8th, started on the 21st of July. Yeah, I think it's just been 2 months now since I've been here. And it's been really good. It was a very long and, difficult drive. But it was good. I like Dallas, the Addison area. Awesome. I mean, at least that's, where we're at. I think it's great. And I think this is the 4th state that I've lived in now. And it's nice because a lot of people do stuff. Yeah. Right? Like people do stuff and people are nice. And, that's not necessarily the case everywhere in the country. I think it kind of depends, right?
Yeah. You do stuff, you mean like they get out, right?
Yeah, people go out. Yeah, they go do, like, there's so much stuff to do in this area. And, like, not even expensive stuff, too. Like, like me and my buddies, when we're studying, we just go to Addison Circle. We just go to the park.
Yeah.
And it's a nice park.
Aurora Cafe. I know you've gone over there, right? I don't know. There's a cafe over there I really like. So.
Yeah. No, I've been there. Yeah. I've been there. But I think the whole area is just fantastic. And I think it's really important as well. After I started, whatever, they were super nice. And like I had class. The class was really good, but it was a lot of self-study. Lot of self-study. But it was good because they, all the instructors, I think the first week that I was here, I probably got at least 20 phone numbers. Just random guys and girls just going, oh, hey, I'm studying CFI. You just started? Great. Here's my number. I'm going to text you random documents about the Archer. Yeah. Or I go, okay, well, I went on a discovery flight with my sister because I wanted her. She was super scared of flying. Okay. And I went up with Evan, and Evan's so cool. He's so cool, and he was like, hey, here's all these documents that you need, and here's some documents that I made. I'll just give you those too. And it was so fun because that was the first time. It's like right as I was about to start flight school,
Mhm.
and that was the first time that I've been flying. I think in like 9 months or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was kind of nervous about it myself.
Yeah.
And I did the takeoff, but I was like, you can do the landing. My landings are still a bit questionable. I think they're always going to be questionable. But
No, sure not.
um, but
Yeah.
anyway, so
Yeah.
we went up, and it was so funny because I mean, we just did basic stuff like, okay, here's your engine out procedure, and we really were just showing my sister like why these aircraft are super safe,
Mhm.
because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about these aircraft too.
Mhm.
Because the FAA is very strict about this.
Yes.
If they are maintained properly, which thus does, because we've got our whole maintenance like hangar, I think pretty much right next to
On the
to us.
airport.
Yeah, it's on
Yeah.
the airport. I
Yeah.
taxied over there, like it's
Yeah.
fine. Like as long as if the aircraft are maintained properly. Plus, there's so many, not only just checklists, but it's like, okay, we're gonna check this. Everything works, cool, you're good. Like these aircraft are safe. I mean, I don't remember who told me this, but I think somebody said like the oldest aircraft that we've got is from like 2023.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like, I mean, there's still Cessnas flying around from the 1950s totally fine.
Yeah.
Like these are small GA aircraft with a 4-cylinder engine. Like these engines are reliable,
Mhm.
and they're safe if you maintain them properly, which this does.
Right.
So I respect that, but it's nice because I mean, you get a full G1000 suite.
Mhm.
Which I forget what it's called, but I think it's like advanced avionics timer, something. It's
Yeah.
something like that. So that gives you just a little bit of a resume booster, whatever it is. But more importantly, the thing that I've benefited from the greatest was because we're under a Bravo shelf, and I don't know if people would know what this means or not. But basically, we're under a Bravo shelf, which
Mhm.
means that the airspace is like very restricted in what we can and can't do, and we've got to talk to and approach. But it's actually a nice thing. It sounds really scary,
It is.
but
Sounds anyways to
yeah,
me.
yeah, but like you talk to worst case scenario. I mean, I had some times where I'm talking to Lone Star Approach, like when you're coming back into the Bravo, and the guy goes, "Ah, bah, 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 ah, bah, 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 bah," and I'm like, I just nudge my instructor. I'm like, I have no idea what that guy just said. He's like, cool, and he gives the call back perfectly.
Yeah.
So you pull that card, and it's fine.
Okay.
But you're building these learning blocks so that when you do eventually go to an airline, they go, okay, well, what is your experience with flying in highly congested airspace? You go, I've done that literally my entire flight training.
Exactly. And
Right.
that's what it's like here. And some people they want to learn and tack that on a little later, which is fine. But
Yeah.
I hear a lot of our students say, "Man, I'm glad I got that out the way."
Yeah. Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
mean, you could be at a 61. There's nothing wrong with 61. They're great schools,
Mhm.
right? But you're flying, just out in the middle of the boonies, talking on 121.5, not really talking in one particular untowered airports and all that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's fine. Is it good training? Yeah. Do you learn theoretically what you need to do? Yeah. But I feel like going and doing it doesn't always translate.
Mhm.
So it's nice that you get the concrete structure
Mhm.
of learning these airspaces and learning what's going on. Because it will be, I mean, it won't be exactly the same thing, but it'll be pretty similar. I mean, we can hear all the Southwest guys talking and the United guys talking. Like
We're in the
it's
same airspace.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're in the same airspace, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's super safe. Lone Star Approach does a really good job, kind of giving us separation and all that.
Yeah.
Um,
It
and
sounds like it just sounds like you got to get pretty much this entire picture already right when you like, from about to get started to getting started. I mean, you're talking to like you said, so many people. You got all these numbers. You got documents coming in. You did
yeah,
discovery flight with your sister.
yeah,
You're learning about the airspace, learning about the aircraft, and then the program itself.
yeah,
I mean, you moved along pretty quickly to kind of get an idea of what thrust felt like. It sounds like
yeah,
to me.
yeah. Well, I
Uh,
mean, you just move along pretty quickly in general too. Like
yeah.
it's not I mean, in my college, I think they had like the reading week for like the first whole week or whatever, which was basically just to sit there and do nothing kind of week. But no, thrust was exactly the opposite. They had day one, we got there, went into the hangar, they had their big thrust day, free Chick-fil-A. That was great.
Yeah,
Really good
once a
time.
month.
Oh, so good. So good.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we had that and they're like, cool. They sent us back to the classroom. We had like a little break just in terms of like, okay, well, what's going on? What's going on? They were like, cool, class.
First day.
They're like, this is how lift is made. Right. So it's
Yeah.
just like basic stuff. But I mean, they don't pull their punches. And I think that's good, but could potentially be scary.
Mhm.
Right. But I don't think it should be, because I think the more important frame of reference I'll say is that if this is something that a pilot or whatever, if this is something that you're choosing to go do, you want to do it not like blazingly fast at the point where you're just like, oh god, I can't keep up with this, but fast enough where you're like, okay, I'm learning this and I'm understanding that. Cool, next, and you're making progress in the program. But more importantly, if you're going through the whole process and you want to go to the airlines and you want to get your 1,500 hours, get to your 1,500 hours, right? Because some people go, oh, I'm flying 30 hours a month. Dude, it's going to take you years to get to 1,500.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think some of the pilots here in Thruster are getting like 100 hours a month.
Yeah. I'm not sure. They're flying a lot, though. I mean,
oh, yeah.
You have full availability, and we fly a lot. So
yeah. But you got to put in the work, though. It's not you can't go, oh, that doesn't work for me. It's too early in the morning. Right? It's 5:30. We're going flying.
Right.
But I personally, I love flying in the morning because the air is nice. The air is nice and smooth. There's no one there. The tower is just kind of well, I guess the tower too, but like tower and approach and all that, they're just kind of chilling there. They're not too busy, so you can go talk to them. Everything's smooth. It's super nice. I just had my stage 2 check ride there. It was in the morning, and the flight was awesome. It was so smooth, and hated one of the instructors was like, these landings are great, and I was like, it's a one-off, I promise you.
That's great.
That's a work in progress. Every pilot will have good and bad landings.
Exactly.
But no, it's really been fantastic. I mean, I remember I was calling my mom and dad. I was like, I made a good choice. I made a good choice. Is there stuff that, how do I say this? I think we should work on. Yeah, but it's like that with any school or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that Thrust has done a really good job of taking, how do I say this? Taking student considerations into account. Because I know that after I'm done with my PPL, they send you a survey and they're like, hey, how did you like the course? Whatever, what do you think we should do?
We take it
better?
very serious, yeah.
Yeah, they take it super seriously, and I think that's good because me personally, I'm always open to feedback. And I think I think everybody can always improve somewhere. But you're going, okay, well, what do you need? Obviously you're the student. How can I make your learning experience better? And I think that's really important. How do I say this? I think that's really important because, you have to look at all the feedback and say, okay, well, if 10 people are saying this, we should probably look at this, right? If this was a little bit vague in our teaching of it and a lot of students are like, oh, we don't know what this is, we should probably teach it a different way, right? But it's good. I really
feel like the surveys allow you to kind of say things like that?
Yeah, but it's not even, that's the thing. It's not even just oh, well, these are the course surveys. They have surveys even for for the housing. They have surveys for everything.
Yeah,
they want to know, and I think that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. That is really cool. Well, I mean, there's still a few things I want to ask you, but right now we've talked about you being that 15-year-old that knew they at least wanted to go on a discovery flight and wasn't sure still afterwards.
I was
and you move all the way forward. What, you're about 26 at this point?
Yeah, I'm 26.
And you come visit Thrust on your birthday. You're already sold in your head, and you start, but. And then you figure out how the system's working here at Thrust. And so far, you feel like you feel good about your decision. You're coming up on your check ride soon, right?
Yes, I am.
So for me, I want to kind of wrap it into that.
Sure.
Because we talk a lot about people who are far into their training. Maybe they're at CFI. Maybe they're airline pilots already. What's cool about what we're talking about right now is knowing you want to do something and getting there. And for you, it's been a long road to this first check ride.
Very, very long road.
Exactly. So I'm curious about how's it feel coming up on this check ride?
I will be totally honest with you, Zach. It's stressful.
Yeah,
it's stressful. But it was never going to be easy. But it's a good stressful because the more you study, the more I feel like they give you the tools that you can take advantage of. So you're like, I know when I'm doing my short field landing, and these are the things that I need to look out for, right? I didn't know this before, right?
You say the more you study, as in you discover those tools in the studying process that you wouldn't really discover if you just kind of were lackluster.
I mean,
is that your point, kind of?
Yeah, but I'm just saying more, honestly, just more in general. Even clouds. I mean, we had a big rainstorm last night, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, there's some cumulonimbus clouds in there. I don't want to be flying in those, right?
Yeah.
You learn all these things that kind of I'll say reframe the way you look at things,
Mm.
right? And especially like flying over Dallas from the air,
Yeah.
it kind of connects everything too, because like
Because we got a lot of
normally,
highways.
oh, we have a lot of highways.
Yeah.
It's stuff that would be like, oh, because when I was working in Lockheed, I'd look at the DFW area and I go, oh, that looks like it's like what 20 miles away from me. It's right next door. It'll take you an hour to get there,
Yeah.
which I did not know. But
Uh-huh.
then you're flying over it and you go, oh, hey, we're going over to Mesquite, and that's like what, like a 20-minute flight or whatever it is, like.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes you a lot longer by car.
Sure does.
But it's great and it gives you the tools. But the thing that I'm still learning is that there's always something else you can be learning. You can always be advancing yourself and your pilotage. And I honestly think that's a good thing, because you
Right.
can never be too safe of a pilot.
Mm.
Right? I mean, and you look at so much stuff where people, I mean, shoot, I had a guy, there's a place I go skiing at in the winter for years up in Utah, and there was a guy doing touch and goes on this lake, and the lake was too thin. He fell through. I feel like most, at least from what I've seen, most of these dangerous things and most of these incidents are not due to something wrong with the plane. It's due to people not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Thrust does a very good job in saying, hey, don't do that. That's not safe.
Right.
So like me, for example, it's also a very introspective experience,
Mm-hmm.
because you learn, your fallacies, you learn what, like your behaviors and what you need to work on.
Right.
And for me, honestly, I'm a little bit too confident. I get, sometimes when I'm going low speed in the pattern, I get a little bit too steep in my turns. And my instructor lets me know, hey, don't do that.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay.
Right.
But I mean, everybody's so nice though. And it's really a school built on safety.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, granted, I've only been here 2 months, but I couldn't name one singular thing that somebody has inherently done that has been unsafe, because they tell you right from the bat, hey, like the super big ones, like, hey, I'm trying to think of a good example.
Yeah.
Like, hey, don't be flying along at 10,000 feet or you'll get hypoxia. You don't hear,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I haven't met anybody here that has gone hypoxic and just like, no, because it's just stupid. Like they build a culture on safety. Like every single flight that I do,
Uh-huh.
I'm doing the pre-flight. Granted, my instructor verifies it, but like, I'm doing the
You're
pre-flight.
involved in all of that.
It is a hands-on process. It's not a, hey, you're a PPL student, you don't know what you're talking about. Stand aside, let me do this. You're just a baby. We'll let you know when it's your time. Like, I mean, they day one, they were like, okay, this is how you do your pre-flight. These are the things that you should be looking for.
Mm-hmm.
They know all of that. They
Mm-hmm.
know all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important, especially for new pilots, because you get to get your hands on the aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
Right, where I mean, these are expensive aircraft.
Right.
I think Thrust would be within their right to just go, oh no, hey, you know what? Let the instructor do it because they're an employee and you're not, and whatever. And Thrust is like, no, go do your thing.
Right.
Right. So I go in there. I'm checking the ailerons and the flaps and the different systems and the MFD, and I'm checking all those. And and let's say the fuel's not topped off, right? And the fuel truck comes by. I'm like, hey, can you fill this up to tabs?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. Right, but stuff like that, and we're helping the instructor push it back. It's a hands-on process,
and that's kind of what you were saying. You kind of needed, as opposed to, the 1 to 2 times of flying a week and touching on some ground knowledge here and there. And to your point earlier when you were saying, there's always more to know.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of the appeal that people I don't think realize they have for aviation, is that you're entering a world that's just it's never ending knowledge. I mean, you're always gonna have the landing is the never ending. Can I get it perfect?
Yeah.
It's like the video game that can I get the perfect score?
Yeah.
And I think aviation's like the world you never get to forget. You never get to finish exploring.
Yeah.
There's always more to know.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people leave their desk jobs and they come to something like this.
Yeah.
And that's what it seems like I hear from you.
And I mean, speaking of video games too, like I had one of my buddies at the flight school here. He said this the other day. He was like, man, he's getting a bit frustrated. I mean, what we do is hard. And he was like, oh, well, I fly my 777 on Microsoft Flight Sim, and why do I need to know some of this stuff? I'm not going to need it in the airlines, right? And that the airlines are step 17. We're at step 1, right? We're not in 777s.
Yeah,
we're in Piper Archers.
Yeah,
and I Is Denizen in 172 still? I think they got rid
They
of
might
their
still have a
last.
few
I
172s
think they're
left.
just kind of phasing them out.
Yeah, we've been trying to, make sure we use the aircraft to where, to a certain
Yeah,
amount to make sure
exactly.
we didn't waste our money. But yeah, we're phasing them out. So
Yeah, yeah. But so Piper Archer, then I'm just like, hey, I was just like, look, man, like this is not, I mean, and he's super cool. But I was like, this is not, 777 flying.
yeah,
This is GA aviation, and in my opinion, it's more dangerous because you're not just going up. You get into your class alpha, you're 18,000 plus, you're on your IFR flight plan. Okay, you
yeah,
come back down, right? It's not like that. Like you're staying down low. There's other traffic that you have to look out for, especially untowered fields.
hmm
I mean, I just had yesterday. There was this big fly-in. I think it was at Terrell.
yeah,
I think is where we were at. And there was this big fly-in where all these people weren't coming in with ADSB and everything like that. And me and my instructor, we were just like, you know what? We were trying to do touch and goes there. I was trying to practice my short field takeoffs and landings. And we just both looked at each other and we were like, this isn't safe. We're out of here. Right. And we left and we went and just did like turns around a point down low and stuff like that. But there's a lot of stuff that you have to look out for. And the feeling is just never something that you're going to get from doing it on a flight sim. You can press all the buttons. I think it's good for training. Me and all my friends, we all have Microsoft Flight Sim. That's what we like to ground fly on.
yeah,
To be
yeah,
totally nerdily honest with you.
yeah,
And it does help.
yeah. I would
It
imagine.
it does help.
Yeah,
But there's just nothing like being in the plane. You never, especially when your instructor, in their infinite wisdom, and yes, I am talking shade here. Cal will be like, hey, that's great. You did great on your stalls. Oh no, your power just died. Your
yeah,
engine's gone. What do you do? And I look over at him and I'm like, you did not just do that. And he's like, yeah, your engine died. What do you do? And I'm like, okay, airspeed 76, looking for the best place to land, ABC, right? And you go from there.
yeah.
But
But they'll do that in the middle of a flight, right?
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah,
they will. but it's good because they do. It's not what you're familiar with. I think that's dangerous. I think it's the things that come up very suddenly
hmm
that might get you in trouble. I'll say might get you in a stressful environment.
yeah,
Because let's say you do lose your engine. It's a stressful process, and you want to make sure that that's so battened down in your mind, so that when something does happen, hopefully, God forbid not, and honestly, I don't think it ever would with these archers, considering how brand new they are.
right.
But
But
let's say something did happen, you go, okay, what do we got? And you're locked in, and you know what needs to be done.
mhm,
And plus, I think, except for I think the 3 FAA legally mandated flights that we have to do as a solo, you're in there with your instructor.
right.
So you know that you have the fallback where if you miss a call, or you just have a general question, you go, this traffic's a little bit close. Do we want to turn to the left just a smidge, right? And you want that second eyeball. It's nice because you could pick that. Right? You
Right.
can pick their brain about stuff. So it's not what's, oh, in the curriculum you need to know about your weather and about your medicals, and it's like, oh no, it's like all the situational stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, when do I normally call Addison, right? Like I was doing my cross country solo, or no, it was my local solo. I think it was Lake Tawanoki, I think it
Right.
was. I'm still learning the area, but anyway, I was coming
Tawakoni.
Tawakoni.
Yeah, I had to think about
There
it.
it is.
Yeah.
But anyway, Lake Tawakoni. I was just doing turns around a boat there for 2 hours, which is great. I mean, it was solo. It was great.
Yeah.
I was bumping Danger Zone in my headphones. Life's good, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm coming back, and I was just a student pilot, so it was the first time that I'd flown into the Bravo by myself, and I knew what to do. I knew that my instructor had given me the tools that I needed to succeed. But I was 16 miles away from Addison. And admittedly, it was a little bit closer than I should have been before I made my call to approach. And they said, thrust 526, are you on frequency? And I was planning on calling them at 15 miles. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, student pilot solo, thrust 526. But they were so cool. And I think everyone in the airspace here understands that there's a lot of student pilots going around. So if you say student pilot solo, their attitude completely switches, because they're like, okay, how can I help you? And
because they want to make sure that it is safe.
They
Yeah.
want to make sure that you're safe and you're
Yeah.
doing what you need to do. And I knew what I needed to do.
Yeah.
But I had such a high workload for me personally. I was kind of like, oh, well, that's 526. That is this what I say? And this is in the right order. And he was like, you're in sequence behind the Mooney or whatever it is at your 2 o'clock. And I looked over and I didn't see the Mooney. I could see him on the G1000, but I couldn't see him.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, thrust 526 does not have that traffic in sight. And I just talked to the guy. He's like, okay, in sequence. And then I was like, in
You
sequence?
kind of did your thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
which
like,
I know what it means, but like,
yeah.
you know, you're sitting there and you're on your solo and you're like,
Okay.
uh-oh.
Yeah.
I was like, in sequence, can you elaborate thrust 526? He's like, yeah, follow the Mooney. I'm like, cool. Following the Mooney thrust 526. Thank you.
And they were
And you
chill
know
about
what?
it.
And the flight went great.
And the communication is important, and it's
And the
good. There you go.
communication is very important. And I think everyone here is more than qualified to give you what you need. Especially if you fall short, right? They'll pick you up and they'll go, okay, well, this is what you need, and this is, and they'll help you out with it. So
Okay, well then, just for some clear, easy takeaway, I'd like to ask for some advice before we go,
sure.
and the advice is more so because what we've talked about is an earlier part of any pilot's journey, and a lot of it has to do with getting to where you're at right now, which is approaching your own private pilot check ride. I want to ask you if you could put together maybe 3 pieces of advice
Sure.
for someone who is looking to, or someone who is interested in flight training
Yeah.
and just doesn't really know if they want to start yet, if it's for them, or how to go about it.
Yeah.
Whatever the persona is that's on the fence about whether or not they want to make a change in their life
Yeah.
to start flight training. Is there like 3 things that come to your mind that you would say to that person?
Yeah, I would definitely say number one, do a discovery flight. Do 2 discovery flights. I get that they're expensive, but like as I said with my roommate, he didn't do discovery flights and he found out that he gets really bad vertigo, right? Don't do stuff like that and then, get surprised when something else came up out of the blue.
Yeah.
Know that you're ready. And I'd say that number 2, I'd say especially with your medical and stuff, be prepared to have that conversation with the FAA.
Right.
You can look online. The FAA is very transparent in what they want from you.
Right.
Right. So, honestly, for me, is there stuff that I could have done better with the medical? Yeah, but there's always going to be stuff that you can do better in hindsight, especially when you're learning about the process. But I would say before you go and you talk to your AME, because there's AMEs everywhere. I would say really educate yourself on, hey, how much of a process is this going to be? Is this going to mess up my schedule? I mean, in hindsight, for me, I'm glad I got delayed because it gave me a little bit more maturity to go and focus in on this. But I would say definitely educate yourself on how it works so that when you go in to your medical doctor's appointment with your AME, say, okay, well, I know how it works. You're going to need this, 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 and this, and here's this paper, and here's what's going on. Because if you give them if you give them what they need, they're gonna go, okay, cool,
Right.
And I'd given this giant dossier, and I was like, okay, here's 10,000 reasons why I'm safe to fly, and they're like, cool,
Yeah.
you're good to fly. And I'd say number 3, if you do actually decide to go to flight school, put in the work. It's not gonna be easy, but I mean, there's some people that, I mean, not so much here at Thrust. I found that most people at Thrust are pretty locked in. But especially in university, I found that there was a lot of people who were just like, that's too much. I don't want to do this. I'm going to go do something else. It's a big commitment, right? Like that is a jump that you have to make. And if you're going to make that jump, make sure you stick the landing.
Right.
Make sure that you're within the right mindset so that when you come in, for the next year, your life will be studying and learning, which is good.
Right.
Right.
But expect that.
Yeah. But expect that, and expect, you're going to have, I mean, as my cousin said, you're going to have your highest highs and your lowest lows. Yeah. And it's definitely going to better you as a person, but make sure that that's something that you're ready for and that, you're not like, oh, well, I've got some stuff that I need to figure out. I might need to be a little bit mature. I mean, you're never going to be perfectly ready, but make sure that if you are going to go to flight school, make sure that it's something that you will ace.
Right.
And that you will hit it with the best of your ability.
Right.
So that's what I'd say, yeah.
Okay. And then one last question, because you did go to school.
Sure.
And now you're here at Thrust. Yeah. And there's two things that I usually want to know that someone can try to maybe enlighten me about when they've done both. Granted, you just started here at Thrust, right? But happy 2 months in, by the way.
Thank you.
One, what is the biggest difference in mindset? Like you mentioned a moment ago, you can kind of like go to university and feel like, I don't really want to do that. versus what you described a second ago. I really like you got to lock in a little bit if you're coming to flight school. So like, what's the biggest difference in mindset? Could you give a better picture there? And then lastly, is there any other differences that you would say are important to recognize when making a decision about
Yeah,
those two things?
yeah, that's a really
Yeah,
good question.
yeah,
I would say in terms of like just the mindset, I found that when I got in there freshman year, and granted, I'm not saying that I was exempt from this,
uh-huh.
uh, people are not mature. People are not ready to go into. I mean, granted, people look at college and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go party. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a good time, right?"
Right. It's what
Uh,
you're supposed to, not necessarily because you really want to, right? So,
yeah, exactly. But people would go in and just kind of eyeballed it and figured out. I go, I can skip this assignment. It'll be fine. I got a good grade, right? And it's just not how that works with flight school.
okay.
I mean, I remember my freshman year. It was my first finals week, and I walk over. I'm just walking down the dorm hall, and there was a guy just playing video games the night before our exam, Fred, and he was in my class, and I was like, "Hey, are you not studying?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm dropping out." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Good luck with that." Um, is definitely a big gap
Yeah.
in maturity, and I think the thing that's really impressed me with Rust, uh, is that people have come here locked in. People have been mature. I mean,
Hmm.
not everyone's as old as I am. I mean, my instructor is 21, and he's locked in.
Yeah.
He's locked in. He's about to go to Envoy. Was I as mature as that at 21? Heck no, dude.
Definitely. Yeah, me neither.
So you need to make sure that you're locked in and that you have the tools that you need. But I'll say just general differences. Um, I'd say that flight school is honestly, I'd say that flight school is harder than college. It's not harder as in like it's more difficult. It's harder
It's like not less achievable
yeah,
necessarily, right?
it's not less achievable. It's just like it is more in depth, I think is the way that I would describe it. I think flight school, like, because you're in college, I was like, as I said, I was studying business and I was like, oh, this is hard, whatever. I'm just going to go eyeball it, right?
Hmm.
You can't do that in a plane because, like, if you don't know this stuff, that's a safety issue, right? And I take safety very, 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 very seriously. Um, yeah, but I just say overall,
That's
like,
a good point.
people at flight school have just come in and been extremely locked. They know what they need to do. It's definitely a community effort. I think there's been a lot more teamwork that I've seen at Thrust compared to my college because I was always the guy organizing everything. I'm just the planner of the group, right? So I'd always organize everything and see
Right.
what's going on. And okay, guys, let's go study at this time in this place, and everyone would go okay, and half the people would show up or whatever, right? But with Thrust, no, it's like that every day. I'll literally just walk into the flight school, right? I'll walk into the hangar at random. Cool, there's 5 of my buddies that are all studying PPL studying, and I just go,
That's awesome.
yeah. But
What an opportunity.
yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
besides that, um, I think it's a lot more time. I think it's definitely a lot more time. I mean, my last semester I was taking 6 classes, and I probably spent half as much time as I did studying as I do here. So but you
Mm.
got to put in the work. But it's rewarding, and for me, it's very interesting in what I'm learning. And it
Mm.
might even be boring stuff like, oh well, how does the fuel system work? Right? For most people, that's probably really boring. But for
Yeah.
me, I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, that's kind of weird. I didn't think about it like that. I didn't know this is something that I didn't know.
Yeah. That's
But
awesome.
it's good. It's definitely a rewarding experience, and that even if it's tough, it's still interesting for me,
Yeah.
and I think that's important.
Said plenty of times, if you guys want to do a discovery flight, know that Thrust does do discovery flights, but you don't have to do it with Thrust. You can Google
They're
a
super
flight
fun.
school near me, and you can find someone who's willing to take you up in a plane at varying prices, of course. But that way you can get your feel for what it's like to be in a plane and not just ride in it. A good discovery flight includes taking control of the yoke and the rudders for the first time
Oh yeah,
and really seeing what it's like
it's a
to
great feeling.
yeah, to really direct the plane because I rode in the plane many times, and then the
Yeah,
first time I got to take a bit of a control, that was really the light bulb, not the ride itself. And to me, I'm like, I mean, I can see, I have an interest in it. I don't think I'm gonna do it, but it's so interesting. I can
yeah,
see how next time I'd be like, well, I could do better next time. I'm already
yeah,
have that
yeah,
itch in my head.
exactly.
It puts that in you.
Yeah, and
So
there's so many schools that do discovery flights too. I mean, they're a
yeah,
dime a dozen. You can, I'd be surprised if there was a place more than like 20 minutes, 30 minutes away from me that didn't
and
do a
you're not
discovery
signing
flight.
up for anything long term. There's no commitment to a discovery flight. I say this for the person who's sitting there wondering like, do I want to try to do something else? And there's no commitment and testing the waters and dipping your toe in the water. with the Discovery flight. I think that's worth doing.
Yeah.
That's what every single person on the podcast says without me prompting them to say it.
Oh,
I didn't
really?
tell this guy what to say. You know what I mean? So thank you for coming on again, Mac, for sharing with our audience, things
Yeah.
they might want to hear about. And if you guys are still watching, I'm assuming you did enjoy this episode. It's a great time to subscribe because I see on our dashboard that maybe like 5% of our weekly listeners are subscribed. So if you're a weekly listener, it would really help us out if you hit that button. Otherwise, if you have questions for Mac or for anyone in general, put those in the comment section. We get a good convo going there pretty frequently. And of course, likes help too. If you're on listening platforms, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to rate our podcast. That's enough of me asking you to do things. Thank you for joining in, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what
What?
pilots have to say.
There it
Thank you.
is.
You've seen the episode.
Thanks, guys.